G'day, I'm Andreas Anderson. I'd like to welcome you to the Northern Sydney Institute, a part of TAFE New South Wales. And what I'd like to do today is teach you a little bit about sugar and share with you what I know. When cooking sugar, the fundamental is starting with sugar and adding water or glucose or different additives to it to help process it for the purpose of pulling and blowing. So what I'd like to do is start with our sugar solution. In here, in this pan here, I've just got some sugar and some water. Different types of sugar can just be normal caster sugar, A1. You can also use specialized sugars such as isomalt. What I've done here is I just have some sugar that's already been cooked up to 160 degrees Celsius. Okay. What I'd like to do is once the sugar is cooked to the required temperature, I'd like to add a bit of color in. Okay. Color is very important for visual effect. Temperature is also very important because the temperature gives us the desired elasticity or texture for the sugar. In general, when we work with sugar, what we'd like to do is be able to work with it at a particular temperature that's useful for us. And the amount of color that we add is dependent upon the desired intensity of the color. So I've just added a bit of pink today. Now that the color's through, I'm just going to pour that out because what I'd like to do is have that sugar now cool down for us. At this stage, we're just allowing the sugar to cool. If you notice when I touch it, it's still very hot. And this is in part why we wear gloves, so we don't burn ourselves. So we're just letting the edges cool down, and then once we start to notice that the texture is cooling down sufficiently, then we start to bring that sugar together. Okay, and now the sugar is cooled, so what we can start to do is bring that sugar in together, and you can see that it's holding its shape now. So it's gone from a very hot, wet mass down to a cool and supple mass, and it starts to have texture. At this stage, the sugar is quite clear and translucent, so we can see through it. What we want to do is we want to incorporate a shine into the sugar, and what that requires is that the sugar gets pulled. So the pulling process is quite simple. The sugar right now is probably around 90 to 100 degrees Celsius. And that means the sugar is still hot, but by handling the sugar, rotating it through our hands, and doing a folding pattern, we can work that sugar together. And as you see, after a series of pulls and twists and turns, the mass comes together, becomes opaque, and that sheen starts to develop in the surface of the sugar. So doing things such as folding on the bench draws out heat, draws it into the marble, and that makes the sugar stiffer. The key to really good sugar work is that the cooler and firmer the sugar, the better the shine and the finished result. All right, that's looking pretty good. Now at this stage, if I continue to work with the sugar off the lamp or at room temperature, the sugar is going to get cold. So at this point, I put it under a purpose-built lamp. What this lamp does is provide heat onto the sugar and help keep it at a constant working temperature for me. So what I'd like to do now is just to pull some petals from this. So the first part that I'd like to do is fold the sugar over and see that I've got a good sheen on the surface. Lay that down, pinch that up, pull that across, and then bring that down towards me. So I'll just test this first one just to see what the texture is like. So that's one petal laid out, and what I'll do is just check it to see if it's got the desired shine and desired texture. Good. Yep, I'm happy with the shine. So what I need to do is just allow the petal to cool. What you'll notice is when you start pulling, any type of particular petal or flower, the technique is almost always the same, and you replicate the technique over and over. So as you can see, the sugar is still a little bit hotter than what I'd like. And so it's a matter of working with the mass and getting a feel for the desired texture so that you can get the desired outcome in terms of shape and shine. Great. Now that I've got all the petals made, what I'm going to do is assemble the flower. So I just take the individual petals. They've now all cooled and the shape is held. I just apply a small amount of heat, just heating the very base, and then I bring that in to the center. The center in this instance is a blown sphere, but I could choose to use any number of garnishes or elements to start. The idea though with the petals is that the petals are large enough at the bottom and strong enough to support the fine, delicate work at the top. What you want to highlight is the shine and the sheen that you've achieved. So those early petals just lay around. The number of petals you put on and the size and the shape of the petals is determined by the size of the flower that you'd like to build. Whenever you're building a flower, whether it's with chocolate or with sugar, very much like a puzzle, you elect the petals that you think will fit appropriate, and then you place those into the right space. What I like about this flower is that it's quite random. There is a pattern in terms of me putting 6 petals in place, but every time I make the flower, it has a different look and a different appeal. Once the process starts, you can see it goes quite quickly. And the number, as you grow the flower, you just take your second layer of petals, place them in between the layer you did before, and then just lay those petals back a little bit back farther out. So notice that the size of the flower, although the petals themselves are quite similar in size, the size of the flower and the shape of the flower takes its shape based on placement.